Hello everyone and welcome to the Paragon developer live stream. My name is KL Smith and boy, oh boy, we got a big patch on the way. I'm super excited.
It's a large one.
It is very large. Today,
sizable.
Today we're joined by the man himself, Nathan Mooney.
What's up, guys?
Mooney.
Yeah, dude.
The memester.
It's true, dude. I shaved.
I know.
Yeah, dude. It's my visual update.
It looks...
V43. What's up, guys?
Can we just restart this? No.
Required less work from the art team.
We have the lead hero designer, Cameron Winston.
Hello.
And our lead level designer, Pat Jones. We have more from the team. We have Jordan Walker, who will be on. We have Tim Ellick. Both of those guys, I'm sure many of you are familiar with in the past. We have two folks from the community. We have Taylor and Austin.
Yes.
These are two folks. Sierra is actually going to be on. So how he magically appeared on Friday.
Less magically, I'm going to leave and he's going to come on.
He's just going to come on.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to use feet for that one.
Yes. Not, what do you say? He came from the Netherrealm?
Let's never mention it again.
Let's just.
Okay. Anyway, so we had a jam-packed show, and we're obviously I think everybody here is probably like let out a big exhale. It's like, finally, right? Like Monolith is here.
It's true. It's here.
Super happy.
Yeah.
The patch notes are live.
Don't call it a comeback. It's been here the whole time.
It's been here the whole time. Yeah. So if you're watching right now, you have not looked at the patch notes, go over to Paragon.com. You'll see the blog, and they are live. You can look at some of the visual glory, some of the visual fidelity of the map. So V43 is bringing in a lot of stuff. We have the visual update, big overhaul there, new towers, lots of stuff. Card unlocking is going to be a thing. We talked about that on Friday. So now you will be able to go into your collections tab and click on a card. If you have enough reputation, you can purchase that card, directed acquisition. Get the card that you want. And then we will have a number of hero reworks. We have one to steal, which we talked about Friday.
Shield bonk.
Shield bonk.
Yeah.
Hashtag shield bonk.
Hashtag shield bonk. Hashtag get
bonked.
Get bonked.
Yeah, get bonked.
Hashtag get bonked.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Remove the Amber link. We did some clarification on that with Community Corner that came out. There's a big post that I put up talking a little bit more in depth about why we have removed the Amber link. There's a lot of jungle changes coming. In a couple updates, you'll see one, I think, around 43.3. That's what we're aiming for. And then you'll see another one around the 44 range where we're trying to improve a lot of gameplay inside of the jungle. And eventually we'll have some more visual updates coming to the jungle. So it's not quite done with the visual updates, but definitely a big, huge facelift coming with V43. There's also the Stonewood Rampage skin. I saw you eyeballing it.
Dude, that's a nice one. That's a nice one. It was one where like I think I'd like seen. I think it was one of those times I'd seen it when we were showing like one of the community folks we have out here, and I'd seen it. I was like, what is that?
Yeah,
is that in? Is that coming? Is that an ad? Like, what's going on over there? And then it just like you were just like 43. That Rampage skin's coming.
Yep. Approximately 50 changes to cards. We've greatly reduced aura stacking
with the intention of not having it.
Yes,
that's the goal.
Let us know.
Let us bacon.
Yes. And then there are approximately 20 heroes that have been adjusted. The most noticeable of which we mentioned Steel with the bonk.
Yeah.
Hashtag get bonked. We have Aurora who has a larger Hoarfrost now. If you've gone on the website, I think you can actually see it.
Faster too. Faster Hoarfrost.
Faster. Faster activation time on Cryoism.
Again, it's also larger.
And the radius is larger.
Larger and faster is a theme.
Yep. Glacial Charge, cast speed increased, and removed the delay on the dash in the beginning on her Glacial Charge.
Yes.
So now it's coming out faster, and
yes.
The speed is increased.
That's
right?
correct.
So
keep it with the theme.
We also have Gideon buffs across the board for him. And then
we have yet another additional bullet point that says "Steel is stunned, get bonked." Just
because you should get bonked. I mean, so the thing is, real quick, just to touch on this for like 3 minutes. I saw a few threads of like, why are we doing this? Like, it was so fun to do the charge. Like, so a couple really quick points, and like we'll talk about this as the week goes on. First off, you should definitely play it first because it does a lot of damage and it's really fun. You just walk at people and you just can bonk them, and then you can stun them, and then you land and you bonk them again. It's just like it just totally makes him this sort of like terror to get off you. It's just like you he's punching you, and it sucks, which is great. And then the other thing is we're trying overall to try to push tanks into more of a tanky space and less of a like wiggle around the map space. So the more tanky you are, the more we kind of like want you to just not be able to just dash and run away from things. So it's a combination of reducing tanks' ability to disengage fights while simultaneously also just making them more threatening over time. Because, it's way more threatening to do this massively heavy-hitting bonk every couple seconds than it is to, like, have to aim this big, charge and then it's like it's on cooldown for 14 seconds and the fight's over before you can use it again.
And one of the things that, just to, again, go on this a little bit further, you mentioned right away the threat of a tank kind of being on you and in your face. And when you used Bull Rush previously, it would actually move you away from your target.
Yeah,
right?
it was annoying in a way.
You get away, and then you wouldn't be able to continue that threat. So
no, it's way more fun to just be on somebody and just be punching them and bonking them and punching them and bonking them, and then they try to leave, and you ult them, and then you punch them, and you bonk them. It's great.
Yep. Hashtag get bonked. All right, so lore for Monolith. I'm not going to go super in-depth on this. I think now we're starting to get to the point where, like last week with the Hero Lore Week, it just came out of the blue. I know.
Yeah, that's
how many times have we seen, hey Arctic, hey Mooney, when are you guys going to deliver on the promise of Hero Lore Week that you talked about? Oh, so many moons.
Too many counts.
So
People
many
love
moons
that.
ago.
3 moons ago?
Yes.
Actually, I think that many times.
So, I think that over the course of the next few months, you're going to see some more lore. I don't want to spoil anything because I know what some of the team members are working on right now. But we released lore for Countess last week, the Alive Again series. It was a part 1, part 2, where Countess has a big face-off against Terra, who we have not talked about at all before. So
and we will continue to not talk about.
Yes, that's the first hero that that was introduced in the lore story that we've not talked about. So,
spoilers.
There's that.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Then there is lore for Monolith, and specifically the Skybox. So this is the first time that you guys are going to get the opportunity to see the 3 moons hovering around Agora.
Yeah,
that's right. You're going to see Letha, which is the fantasy world, Omida, which is the big city with a huge wasteland. That's the planet there. And then we have Zekken.
It's hard to see.
Yeah, Zekken, which is the primitive jungle world. So you all will be able to see those in the Skybox. If you guys remember, when you load in on Thursday, I've said this a couple times now, you end up on the Dawn side. Some of you guys have seen it in pictures, but it's another thing when you're inside the game. You spawn in. You're on Dawn side. Spawn in. Take a couple steps. Turn around and just look in awe behind you, because that orb looks fantastic. Our team, so good.
Kale will be watching streams to make sure you look at the Dawn orb. If you don't look at it,
the first stream that's up.
The first stream. You do not look at it, Kale will be in there watching.
I will be in the chat.
Hashtag look at my orb.
Hashtag
get
bonked.
Again, hashtag get bonked.
So many good ones, dude.
Yeah.
So without further ado, we want to show you guys the Monolith Rising video, and then we're going to talk through some of the design and gameplay with Pat and Cameron. So we will be right back. Alright, so we hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I want to get right into it, talking a little bit about the history of Monolith. This has been a long process of getting this map to this state. Pat, can you kind of talk about where we started, I can kind of remember the first, like, we got to do something with Legacy. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And kind of seeing it progress. So talk to us about, what it's been like making this map.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We started, I don't even know, over a year ago, kind of like evaluating Agora, and like the size was a big thing. Travel mode was a big thing. So it was like, we got to get the map smaller. We got to get the gameplay tighter. So after like several iterations, we kind of landed on kind of what people are playing today as Monolith. And even that's gone through lots of like revisions.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a pretty good spot now. But as always, everything's always changing. So there's always room for improvement.
So funny, this is a personal story. So when I first got on Paragon, and I know visuals for Epic, it's just, we love visual quality, visual fidelity. It's a big thing for us. When I first got on Paragon, I had Paul Megan. Paul Megan's the president of the company. He comes to me, he goes, "Kale, have you seen what we're working on?" And I go, no. He goes, "Listen, you need to go upstairs, go over to Pat Jones' desk, and go look at the MOBA that we're making." And so I go up there, and I go up to Pat, and I say, "Hey, Pat, Paul told me to come up here. He wants me to look at the visuals on the map." And he goes, "Okay." And you had a smile on your face. So he loads in, and we saw Legacy for the first time. And I was just floored, blown away, never seen anything like it. And so fast forward, I remember November of 2016, so last year, right before Monolith came out, Pat, we're in a play test, and Pat, he kind of looks at me and he goes, you think the community is going to like this? Like, are the visuals on this okay? And I'm like, "Pat, it's fine." I was like, "This looks great." And so the team here is so, and I say this because the team here is so concerned about the visual quality, visual fidelity of all the work that we put out. I know for us to get to this point, for a lot of you, it's just like, yes, finally, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm just embarrassed when I ask about like how I'm like, "Oh my god, this is beautiful." It's like, that's gonna be way more beautiful.
No,
like,
yeah, no, and that's a reaction for us when we go down there and we go to some of these playtests and we see early work and we go, "Man, that looks fantastic," and all the artists go, "We don't really like
does
that."
it though?
No,
I could fix. That's fine. I can make that better.
And then when Jordan's come on, I'm going to tell another personal story with him. When Shaq and I go up to his desk and we're like, "How complete is this?" He goes, 40%.
And watch it.
So, just kind of talking about some of the things that changed. What were the big like major changes throughout the design of the map? Like, was it like the lane sizes or the towers? Like, what are some of the big adjustments that you continually had to work on?
So from Legacy to Monolith, we definitely try to dial in like the sizes of like the lanes a little bit, and always trying to push verticality like further than we did before. Sometimes that goes too far. We have to pull it back a little bit, or as heroes come online that leverage that, we try to like take advantage of that also. So I think it's been pretty good for Monolith, but let's see, where was I going with that?
Big changes, towers.
The towers, yeah, we pulled in. I mean, these are changes that happened a while back, but they've been pretty solid for a while. The biggest change really is the visuals making such a huge difference, though.
When you guys had the comp team playing, what was some of their like consistent feedback that you got, that you kind of iterated and tweaked?
Always mid lane is always a big sticky spot. Like too much ganks, not enough ganks. Vision through the fog walls and stuff like that. Getting the gameplay to feel right there is always tricky because it's more of a condensed area in the map. Right. So that's always a trouble spot.
Okay. Another one, you talked about verticality. Legacy, there were some really, really high points, and then there's some really low points of the map. And with Monolith, I think the big thing with a lot of the players in the community were, hey, I keep hitting these walls that I don't see them. Where are they at? Right? Like, I feel like I should be able to jump over that. What was the process like of kind of going through all of the collision areas and saying, okay, this one should be clear, this one shouldn't, or are there more plans to open it up? What was that kind of process like for you guys?
Yeah, so there was a point where we were just getting lots of bugs and lots of bad things were happening with like ward placement and stuff like that on Geo that was like too low or at a weird angle. So it was like, okay, we got to really clean up the gameplay, and to do that, we kind of like had to be heavy-handed with the vertical walls everywhere and blocking things. But that wasn't a lot of fun, but we kind of had to do that to get where we are today. And we really wanted to pull that stuff down, and we've done that quite a bit, but it's an ongoing process of trying to get the walls low enough to support gameplay where you can do dynamic plays like over walls and stuff like that. That's really, I think, what we're going to focus on in the future is more of that type of like high action gameplay.
Okay. And then from the hero side, when you hear, at least some of the goals that we have for Monolith, and we always talk about this on either Community Corner or anytime we have you on camera, and it's like some heroes are more built for Legacy, and some heroes are built for Monolith, and now we're finally getting to see like the true, this is Monolith experience, if you will. So what is the hero creation path like for making the heroes work within the confines of the map?
So mostly it's not so much that we're making them work, it's that now we're finally able to give them their full potential. If anything, I would be like, we're going to look at them and see now that we can actually Aurora Dash over things the way we intended, does that make her crazy broken? Like, we're just going to be like looking at kind of what we did for these heroes, because we always like imagined, well, there would be verticality that would allow certain heroes to take advantage of. So a lot of these heroes kind of had abilities that are just like, yeah, one day that's going to be working. I think I remember it was actually like, I want to say like, what was it, Pat? Like 6 months ago, we were like in a meeting somewhere, and I was just like, hey, so like, what would it take to like make it so that we could like jump over walls? And you were like, I don't know, man. Like, I just remember that, like, it's like, and we went through that whole like, we need the walls there for gameplay right now, and they were like, well, what if we didn't? We were pushing it, right? So like, obviously it took a lot of work, and we wound up being able to roll it into our visual update, which is really good for the game. But it's like, mostly now for heroes, it's just going to be a question of like, let's take a look at which heroes have verticality that we can continue to use, which other heroes maybe need a little bit less mobility now that verticality is in, and then also like, what new things can we put in the game that will take advantage of this? And it's really just exciting. It's just going to be good.
Okay. When you think about, Pat, some of the hero play that you see, whether it be emergent gameplay from comp or just like a new hero has an ability and you see it for the first time in the wild on the maps, do you kind of say, all right, we need to make some adjustments here or make this wider here? How does that feedback from comp get to you about, hey, this hero affects this area differently?
Yeah, I spend a fair amount of time with those guys testing the map stuff, and I'll put things in that I want to play a certain way, and then I'll see them play it. And sometimes it goes that way, and sometimes they do something crazy that I wasn't expecting, which is cool. Those guys play on a different level than I do as far as like skill. So I might play with Aurora and be like, hey, she's cool. I can do all this crazy stuff, but those guys can do it with like blink cards and things that I can't even imagine with other heroes. So that's really cool to see. Like, even heroes who don't have hard abilities that have verticality like that they can still leverage cards and other things to pull off some cool plays.
One of the areas that we are continuing to iterate on, we mentioned it earlier with the Amberlink removal and the jungle, is just the space in the jungle and what we want to do with the jungle. And I feel like we've continued to try to iterate on perfecting that. Can you kind of talk to what future projections, like what types of plans you're thinking about for jungle right now?
The jungle right now doesn't have a lot of opportunities for a lot of cool stuff going on. The white camps are there for economy and things like that, but they're not super compelling right now. So that stuff we want to really improve a lot. Whether it's they become buffs or they just become cool encounters that are more fun and more challenging to fight against. And then also just as a theme, like making the jungle feel like a cool place to explore, and you're going to jungle lots of times on this map, so it needs to be interesting, and new players need to not get lost and see where they're going and recognize call-outs and landmarks and stuff like that. So that'll probably be the stuff that gets the most like improvement in the future, is going to be the jungle. We're going to do a lot of work there to make it better.
And specifically, like you mentioned on a few of our online posts, right? We're looking to increase, the amount of things to do in the jungle as objectives, right? Like so, Amberlink going away is the first step, and then we're replacing it with new, more interesting things. Hopefully, as soon as possible. We don't want to commit to dates, of course.
Right. Now, the last thing I want to kind of hit on with you two, well, specifically Pat, is the art. Right, so the art came in, and I'm sure it changed a lot of like, oh, I didn't know this was going to be here, and you maybe had to widen some things. I know, for example, in one of the iterations there were some rocks in a lane, and it changed the how big the lane was. Right. So what was it like, kind of working with once the art came all into the game? How'd that change the design of the map?
It definitely does change it in some areas. I mean, we try to like mitigate any like negative gameplay that happens once the like art and meshing comes in.
Right.
But it's always hard. But then you also have situations where you have these like happy accidents where, the shape of some artistic geo changed the shape of some other gameplay areas, and it actually works. Maybe it blocks line of sight better than it did before when it was a proto, or the it creates a ledge in an area where it's an advantage or a disadvantage. So we try to mitigate the ones that are really painful. And the collision's always troublesome because you have all this cool looking, geometry everywhere with plants and foliage and rocks and structures and stuff like that. And you don't want to get hung up on that stuff as you're playing a game because you're just going to rage out, about getting stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
That's always challenging, and we've been working hard to try to clean that stuff as much as we can.
I know a lot of folks always talk about the steps.
The steps.
My biggest rage moment testing this map was I was running away on off lane, and the off lane tower had this big like kind of metal V, and there was this huge block of collision just right in front of the V, and I was just running right at my tower. I just stopped, and I got killed, and I was just raging. I was like, "What the hell is this? This is great." Yeah. I mean, but that's the kind of stuff that happens when you you completely remake a map. So you like this rock has. I remember I was chasing a Colin Fogel, and he jumped over this rock, and I got stuck on it, and I said, "There's a bug with the map. The collision is here." And he says, "No, I just parkour better than you." So that was his comment. So I lost the parkour game.
That's true, dude.
Wow. All right. Well, we're gonna get on Jordan and Tim to talk through the art and effects on the map. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you.
So stay tuned, and we will have more stuff for you guys.
Hashtag get bonked.
Get bonked. All right, we are back with Jordan and Tim. So happy to have you guys on. So the map is here.
It is.
And I told a little bit of that story.
Yeah.
Jordan. It must have been right before you went on vacation in June, Shaq and I went up to your desk.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, because we wanted to get the map out for V42, and we wanted to do some teasers.
Yeah.
And so you're walking us through the map, and we're both like, we're kind of looking at each other, me and Shaq, and we go, Jordan, how close is this to being done? This looks done. Yeah. And you just kind of look at it, 40%. We're like, what? 40%? Yeah. So what has it been like making? First, let's even go back. What was it like making art for Legacy, and then what was it like making art for Monolith?
Okay, so the difference between, I'd say the biggest difference between Legacy and Monolith is Legacy had this kind of consistent look throughout the whole map.
Yep.
And so with Legacy, we made a few assets. We pulled some from other projects we had at the company for like rocks and things like that. And the time frame, I believe, was a bit shorter on Legacy. And so
I think so.
The time frame sort of limited what we could do, and sort of that uniform look kind of came out of that. It also just had a different structure to it. Legacy was very flat, and there weren't many structures that stuck up in the air, and so you were kind of limited into the type of structures you could build. So now with Monolith, there's a lot more interesting geometry that we could play off of on the art side. So we're able to make these structures that look like really cool gates with a pillar next to it.
Right.
Or there's some ancient ruins that have an archway or look like they were part of some ancient temple or something.
Right.
So there's a lot more there to explore on the art side.
So I'm not, at least in the very initial conversations between the lore and the art, how much was the lore impacted, or has it impacted the art aspect of the map, right? So I know there's Dawn and Dusk as an example. Was that lore, or was it like you guys were like, we needed two distinct sides?
I think it was a bit of a design and art decision from the sense of like, we wanted, when we're talking to the design team and the lore teams involved in this conversation as well, we wanted to create visuals that helped you understand what side of the map you were on. Right. So like a safe lane approaches off lane or vice versa. You understand when your lane's starting to end and the next one's starting to begin.
Right.
And it also just helps. We try to carry it through the jungles as well. So if you are in the jungle and you just stop for a second and you're like, okay, which jungle am I in? One of the jungles has more of like oranges fall colors for the dusk side. And then for the dawn side, we have more greens, and the effects team has placed like more waterfalls and puddles of water on the ground. So
I thought he was about to say, if you just stop in the jungle and just start looking around because it's so pretty. Because I know I'm going to end up doing that, where I'm just like walking around. I was like, where? Oh, I don't care about where I am. It's fine.
So yeah, it was totally a motivation for like just giving people map awareness of where they were, and then the lore team. I mean, they totally work with us and help us make sense of it all, and then they'll come with things at us, sort of like there's these moons, or we'll talk with them about if we're going to put this architecture in the jungle, what makes sense? Is there certain things we shouldn't put here, or there's certain things we should put here, along those lines.
Okay. What was your favorite piece to put into Monolith?
So favorite piece is probably, I would say, once we got the bases up, sort of seeing that iconic imagery of, this represents this side and this represents that side. Dusk side has this huge blade structure, and then Dawn side has this sort of like regal palace look that has this like sort of water sphere up there. It was kind of nerve-wracking to tackle that water sphere just because it's a huge technical
I remember
problem.
The first time I saw this image, and I was like, we can do that?
Yeah. So it was a bit of a challenge, because when we first looked at that, it's like, oh, that looks super cool. And so we started off trying to make it render like, water would typically, but then you start to realize that you never see bodies of water that are that big and aren't flat.
Right.
And even when they are flat, they're actually pretty dark. And so that's when we had to start working in some more like magical elements to it. And that thing bounced around between a lot of different people.
There's not just floating balls of water somewhere that we could have drawn artistic inspiration.
That would be nice.
There's a couple more images, I think, that we have through. Just kind of talking through some of these. These are the waterfalls.
This is actually the gate underneath that water sphere.
Okay.
And so what we usually end up doing, and what we did a lot more on this map, was the modeling artist will block out a prototype mesh, which is what's in the top left here, So I think Kevin Johnstone made this one. They'll block out that mesh, and then they'll send it back to the concept artist to say, like, help me add some detail here. Like, how should I help resolve these shapes? So they kind of work back and forth to work through these problems.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are the jump pads for the Dawn side. You can see, like, there's a sort of rough layout on the bottom there from what the Dawn base looked like. But this is where I think Paul Richards took the rough geo we had and sort of concepted how this sort of jump pad would work.
When you first load up the map and you see them, you're like, wait, what? And then you look, because it looks so good. And then we don't have Jay on, but Jay, the combination of the effects and then the new animations for the heroes when they launch off the pads are like, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
And that's one of those subtle things is like you feel like you're like, oh, the jump pads, I always just go off of those when I'm like running out of days.
And it feels
but it's
so
one of those
much
things
better.
where like it feels better, it looks better, you're running towards this thing that is like that's an actual thing I'm running towards.
I just love that we're starting to get more like this is a complete game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's what we have with like the jump pad animations is some of the heroes have them, but because we have so many and we're doing so much for these builds, it's like those are the types of things we work in over time.
Yeah.
Right.
So that roster of heroes that supports that feature will expand.
But seeing those initial things is super exciting.
Yeah,
And this build is so big, like we couldn't even go. We wouldn't have enough time to talk about all of the things that got adjusted and added to this.
So this is interesting. I grabbed this because this was a really early sort of kit bash by our art director, Chris Perna, where he took, we had a couple prototype assets and a couple rock assets that we had been scanning, and he just kind of like threw this together in Engine and said, like,
oh, okay, yeah, of course.
let's
Threw this together. Of course. It's a Tuesday, right?
But that's one way we'll try to find looks for things is like we'll explore it in concept art, we'll do drawings, but then also somebody will just start pulling assets together and making temporary materials, throw some atmospherics in there, and just to kind of get an idea of how does this look in a 3D space, how easy it is to pull this look off. Do we encounter problems that we maybe need to give feedback to the concept artist for? So this was the first image where it was kind of like, okay, this is what it's going to look like.
Okay. So you know what? I want to kind of not derail, but it's on the same vein. We have not shot a new hero trailer. Well, I think Iggy kind of counts, but we've not shot a new hero trailer on any of Monolith because the map wasn't finished.
Right.
Can you kind of talk about some of the lighting in different places on the map and why that's so important for the heroes?
Yeah, so I'm actually excited now that we have this map. It gives us a lot more of like different themes to play with on for these trailers.
Right.
Because there's different sides to the map now. If you say introduce a hero that's more friendly or happy, you can use the Dawn side to sort of like express that theme.
Yeah.
And conversely, if you have like a more evil character or a dark character, there's the Dusk side. But then also the jungles give us a lot of different atmospheric tones to play with. So like I said, some of those areas have like lots of water and lots of greenery, but we also have volumetrics in the map now. So we have areas that are more foggy than other areas, and there's like nice light beams sort of coming in. So yeah, definitely gives us a lot to play with.
Is this jungle concept?
Yeah, so this concept is by Zach Foreman. We had roughed in the jungle, and then he did a couple quick paintings where he sort of played with like, what's our jungle architecture style? How do we layer these, plant life and things over it? So
That's like a sick wallpaper. I could totally see that. Just like resting on my desktop with a little steel chilling there. Oh, that's super cool too.
But yeah, once we got this, it helped a ton because it gave us ideas of how we would sort of build this stuff structurally and make it feel thematically.
Yeah. It kind of gives you a perspective as to where stuff would be moving, or like for example, with the Amber Lincoln green buff.
Yep. And so yeah, here's some more concept art where we take sort of proto assets that are in the level, hand it off to a concept artist. They sort of dive deep on it, give it some more, like this shape could work here, this other shape could work here, and then here's like sort of a rough thumbnail of the gate.
Dusk has a lot of really sharp kind of edges about it.
You definitely got to like pay attention walking around the Dusk base.
Yeah. Might step on something.
And then this is the super early breakout of the Dawn base where it was kind of like, what kind of parts will we sort of build with? You can see there's like a wall section there where it's like, here's how this wall pattern would repeat, and then there would be a gate. And it just sort of lays out that initial idea of like, there's this sphere of water, and then the walls behind the base sort of have these waterfalls running down them.
I really enjoy how distinct it is, because it's one of those things you're walking around in this fantasy world, and you start slowly noticing the subtle differences that are like, that change when you move across the map. It's like I'm going from dawn to dusk. I can slowly see the colors start shading as like being darker colors. And stuff just seeming more menacing and sinister. I think that's like super helpful for like that fantastical concept of like getting lost in this world, is like that transition being like sort of like, oh, this is a natural transition where like I'm transitioning to that side of the map. Versus like being distinctively on this side of the map.
Yeah, and one of the things we tried to do as well is like use the ruins and the jungle architecture to help blend that transition. Initially, we had the dawn and the dusk coming right up to each other, but it feels kind of blunt. And so we try to crumble away those base architectures and pull in more vines and things like that. Yeah, and so these images just kind of show like a breakdown of materials and how we have, you know, there's like what the lighting looks like in the map versus what the colors of the surfaces look like versus this is the roughness of the surfaces. Just sort of all the detail the material artists have to go through to make all this work.
So the towers.
Yeah.
I want to talk about those. Now, J Hawk put these together, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so...
Yeah, so he did the concepts for them.
This is, at least from a design standpoint, we've talked about towers for a long time, about how do you convey the towers are lethal, and that if you walk into a tower radius, you can get kind of tore up if you're a newer player or existing player. And when I first saw this, I was like, "Oh, that'll definitely."
It looks like a giant freaking gun.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Do you kind of know the process of going through the iterative? Did Jay just have this and was like, "Boom, done"?
So we kind of laid out our requirements from the beginning in the sense of, we knew we wanted it to look like a gun. We wanted it to be super basic from a human understanding standpoint of like, I look at this thing,
is a gun,
it's probably going to shoot me in the face. It's pretty big. It'll probably do a lot of damage. And we knew we wanted functionality, a couple things from it. We wanted it to, working with Tim, we talked through all these things of like, you know, the tower doesn't take as much damage unless there's minions inside. And so what we wanted to show was when there's minions in range of the tower needs to transform in some way. It needs to look more susceptible to damage. And so that's where, you know, we started talking with Jayhawk about like, maybe it has these like armor shields that are closed up. And then and you can shoot it when it's closed up, but it'll take less damage. And then when minions come in, that's when it opens up and it looks more like it's more susceptible to damage.
Okay.
The other thing we wanted to do, which these images are showing, is we didn't want to have to build distinct assets for every tower and inhibitor, just because that would be a ton of work. And so what these images show is we built this sort of core mesh, which is the gun part, and every tower and every inhibitor on either side uses that core mesh. And then we layer on the armor, and then there's another piece that's layered on for the inhibitor as well. And so because we're able to build it in pieces, and this is something that our artist Pete Hayes had to, he basically had to lay all this system out on the modeling side in Proto, basically plan it all out early on before he went deep on the details, just to make sure that we could pull it off and it actually was a savings and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Another big part of it is just like simplification of the visual so that the tower really stands out, and then you can really read like damage and all the other things that are happening with it. And so like for like being turtled up for backdoor protection, we didn't want to just do like a big glowing shield around it or something. We wanted like the shielding to be like part of the gun itself, rather than like having to tack on more and more and more visual elements to, which then just add to like visual clutter. We're trying with the update to also like, as the level around you gets more detailed, clean up the gameplay mechanisms so that they're like really clear and parsable.
I think it's also really interesting because it goes away from, it's a departure from that traditional, like, there's just this tower thing shooting me.
Yeah.
And kind of really does sell that I'm able to, at a glance, upon, like, first interaction with them and, like, new to the MOBA genre, I can know that this thing is going to shoot me when it's not shooting me, when it's scary to hit, when it's not scary to hit. I think that's, like, super important.
And if you even think, like, back to Legacy days, like, the tower was just, there was a gem that you would beat on.
Yeah.
And the
But
ball
beam
was way
coming
up in
in,
the
yeah.
sky, and there was just this
The
beam.
disconnect was just...
And so we've just been slowly, like, iterating down on the problem spaces and taking all the feedback and, like, honing that in. And the first step with Monolith was just to take the ball and stick it above the gem and give you something a little bit taller to shoot at. And so this is, like, the culmination of, like, all the things we've learned over time.
So talking about effects, we hit it right off the bat almost with the water. How challenging was that alone to build my favorite landmark in Paragon right now? Is that sphere? But just talking about the water in general and getting those effects on the Dawn side, what was that process like for the effects team?
Well, it was not just me; it was Jordan and I together. So it's like, and it wasn't just the effects team. This is one of those areas where, like, having a really strong tech art team and a really strong effects team where we can just kind of bounce ideas off of each other.
Okay.
Jordan originally started out building the shaders, and then we realized quickly, is like, we're going to have some kind of effects elements that go with it. Can we go back and maybe loop the first video of just the sphere? And so, like, the first process was, like, Jordan built a base shader and was like, here, I think this is, like, in terms of art, like, of what the water should look like, this is the direction we need to go in.
Yep.
Then I took that shader and made a bunch of little tweaks to it, and we tried to make it look more magical. And then on top of that, like, so we wound up kind of like in this space here, where it was just like, that's just the base shader. And then we started layering in more effects, where it was like an actual particle system that has, like, these big spinning water, like, I don't know what the water spouts that just kind of, like, flare off of it. Kind of like Chris Perna was always like, just look at, like, the way the sun just has, like, all these explosions, and then we want to do that, but have it actually be like water that's just, like, peeling off the surface the whole time.
So cool.
In order to get that really dynamic, we needed some of the, like,
yeah, that's got to be like a design and inspiration. You guys are going through reviews, and you're just like, look at the sun for inspiration.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of the opposite, right? But I mean, sometimes you just have to, like, to do something unique like this. Like, I've never seen a game that has, like, a giant ball of water like this before. So we didn't really have a good, other than something like identifiable and relatable, that the sun was the best. So there's a bunch of pieces that are just effects that just kind of peel off, and then the rest of it is all, like, static meshes for the clouds that we place in the sky. And the cool thing about those is they all get dynamically updated with the lighting in the level. So we have a directional light that we sample, like a directional vector, and then as that lighting environment, if we ever change the lighting, the clouds just get updated. So we don't ever have to, like, go back and keep tweaking those for all the light changes that happen. Like, so it's kind of like a mix of, like, a big tech art problem and effects problem, and we all just kind of work together.
So wait a second, you guys know where I'm going with this one. So let's say it got a little cloudy and the clouds turned gray. I've hit you with this before, Jordan. Does that mean weather effects?
Yeah, we're working on that stuff now. I mean, now that the map is established, it's like we're actively working on making that system work and getting that lighting built.
You guys can't see my face right
and
now.
We're trying to build scalability into all these things so that we can tune as we go, but only have to make minor adjustments rather than, like, whole systems have to change.
Right. Okay.
And those videos were just more or less just like all the different elements. It's like a static mesh. There's lighting that has to go in. Its materials are subsurface. We're using flow maps on the orbs. There's a bunch of technical problems we had to solve. Getting more into, like, what Jordan was saying about the differences in the level. Like, we really wanted effects-wise to reinforce, like, the visual of, like, this area is really lush and full of life, and this area is kind of like more brown and I don't know if death, but just more just like it's like fall, or things are more dusty. And so, like, with effects, we try to, like, reinforce that. So it's like as you're running through the level, maybe you may not be totally cognizant of it, but it's like this whole side's full of waterfalls, or maybe you'll notice, like, this is actually one of the buff spawn points, and we surrounded one of the buff spawn points with waterfalls, and the other side has very minimal amounts of waterfalls, and there's, like, brown leaves falling, dust in the air. It's really arid looking, versus the other side's, like, all about humidity and moisture.
Right.
So if you switch to the next video, I think it kind of shows the comparison of the two. These are both like buff spawn points. So if you're running around the map and you're just not sure which side you're on, you can start to look for those kind of like call outs to help lead you along the path. And so the other thing we're working on to go with the whole scalability thing I was talking about, it's like the water is all, this is masked. So traditionally we do water with like translucency, which is really expensive. And we've had problems like getting this volume of like particles and water in the map just from a performance standpoint. Now we're messing around with like a lot of masked water. So this is a lot cheaper and it lights correctly with the rest of the static geometry around it. So you can see I'm like just moving a point light around.
Yeah.
So if we go and change all the environment lighting, we don't have to, historically we'd go back and tune all of these
lighting.
splashes to look right for the lighting. Now we just change the lighting, the splashes, all the water effects just update correctly to work with it.
Sick. So I have to ask, is this, sometimes we ask this with heroes, is this like almost like new tech that we're
tech we can
adding
use
specifically for this?
This map in particular had so much water in it, and I was not really satisfied with the water we had in Agora originally. And seeing the water ball and seeing how much water is in the Dawn area was like, okay, guys, we're just going to have this initiative. Like the whole effects, I worked with a couple of the guys on the team, came up with this new masked way of doing things, and then got it all up and running, proved it all out, worked with Jordan quite a bit to solve some technical problems, and then we went through and did a full update of all of the hero effects in the game. So now, like if you drop Hyper Breach's ult on the river, you'll get like unique explosions that are just for the river, and some of this is just showing like the tweakability of like what Unreal Engine will let you do, like in terms of that's a single actor that's placed in the level and I have all these like parameters that I can adjust. So it's like if Jordan comes by, he's like, dude, I really think these splashes are like too opaque or whatever. I don't have to go make a unique splash. I can just go right into the one in the level and just start tuning the values until he's like, yeah, that's looking better. Or like if Chris Perna's like, I want to see more butterflies or whatever, we can just go tweak values per actor. And if we have performance problems in areas, we can go do that. And this shows like using different engine features of like, I couldn't get the look I wanted with like a mesh emitter, so I just grabbed some decals, made some new water decals. And then this is like showing, those are just like drips. And then this is showing like a lot of the water just happens to be a static mesh, which lets us conform things to a surface.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's super cool.
And you can see the new fog walls there.
Yeah.
So I think we go to the next.
It's pretty cool there. You could see like this area. This video shows it a bit as well. So Rick Kohler, the lead environment artist, he started doing this thing where he put these statues around the map. And here in River, you can kind of see there's this like yellow paint on these statues, and then on the other side it uses red paint. And that's something that we're going to start like pushing more throughout the map. Is like not just the architectural differences, but you know, he wants to do these sort of like colors that we sort of designate areas.
Okay.
Maybe there's little like symbols on the walls to let you know when you're getting close to prime and things like that. So.
And here you can actually see like how accurate the lighting is. Like there's a shadow that cuts through the center of the river.
I see it.
And as the splashes are getting lit, like you can literally see the correct shadowing on the splash. I think it's right at the beginning. Yeah, right here you'll be able to see like the right side of it's lit, the left side of it's in shadow. So we're working really hard to like bring up the visual fidelity of those kind of things. And across the board, we went through all of the heroes and updated them. I think there may be like one or two that are still in process, but for the most part, all the heroes just got to pass. The whole team just went through and beat on this.
I'm just getting lost in the water over here.
I know.
And we
I
got
can
water
watch
that
this
like
all day.
splashes on the camera lens and everything if you're close enough to the explosion. So we can go to the next video. I think there's one with Twin Blast. Yeah, this one's just fun because some of the ults are. I just had a fun time just working on the ults. Like I think his ult here is just close to the end, but it's really fun to just shoot the river and get that like
We're gonna have people doing this.
Now,
in
no.
game
So now, when I have,
Thank you.
yeah, now when I have a twin plus in my game who's just ulting
Thank
the
you,
river
Tim.
water, I'll be
I
like,
just realized people were
shout
gonna
out
do this.
to Tim.
But it feels really good. Like if you're shooting and you just happen to be missing, you'll notice like you get a much better distinctive.
It's like, guys, why
Yeah.
are you losing mid? Sorry, I was.
Hashtag water plays, dude.
Yeah, it's funny because like the environment artist built all this water into the Dawn base. Like the floor of the Dawn base, a lot of it's water,
Yeah.
and a lot of it's pretty intricate in that it has these like metal structures cutting into it and stuff, and like all that has water effects to go with it as well. And when the heroes shoot it, it reacts to it.
So I'm
It's
just
pretty-
And hats off to Brian
Pretty
Faston
nuts.
because I mean he went through this whole map and like tweaked all the settings on all of this geo so that when you shoot a puddle you get water splashes. And when you shoot, like all these little tiny areas around
Yeah.
the towers, you
I
get
say Brian,
splashes.
dude. Brian's
so-
my boy, dude.
Oh,
Shout
so
out
you
to
know
Brian.
what? I have to go in. I remember you talked about this last time, Tim. I have to go in with my boy Richter. Take
Mm-hmm.
his electricity
Yeah.
into the water.
Oh, yeah,
It's
dude.
all updated.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Boil that water, dude.
And, I mean, another thing I'm just looking forward to is like I think it's like Mad May 77 and Tanya Paragon are
Oh, Tanya
like,
Paragon with the
taking
screenshots.
tons of screenshots,
Yeah.
and I
Oh,
just
yeah.
can't wait to see all this stuff.
I have to- I get
from the
to-
community.
Yes, it's gonna be awesome.
No, definitely. Get out
every
there.
sing-
Yeah, get out
every
there.
single one of my YouTube videos, I go into the replay editor and I find the perfect screenshot. And Tanya has some of my favorite screenshots I've ever seen from any of the community.
Yeah,
members.
no, that's
So
definitely going to be coming
I'm
into this
really,
new map.
really. I honestly, I can't wait to see that. You're definitely right, Tim. I cannot wait to see the screenshots that the community takes now with the map.
And for us, it's really fulfilling because it's like, oh, somebody else saw this way, and I never would have looked at it from that perspective. So,
Oh yeah, it's funny.
looking
Like
forward to it.
the screenshots people have been able to pull off with current Monolith.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to see, now that we have all this awesome environment art in there, what they'll be able to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Like,
Great.
we release a hero or something, and the community figures out a crazy way to do something. It's the same thing. We release the map, and they're able to show off that, like, really that
Yeah.
beauty in some really interesting ways.
But I think if people read the patch notes, they'll see there's a ton more changes. Like Jordan and I literally sat down with, I think, Thomas Browett and just went through, like, every ranged hero got their impact effects updated. We switched all the systems for how we show projectile trails.
Yep.
And we did a big clarity pass, just trying to, like, update all of the gameplay. It's like the environment's much more complex now, so there's some areas we probably need to tone down and pull back. Cards got a big pass. And there's so many things we couldn't possibly cover just in one stream. And just the feedback mechanisms in the towers alone, I think if you go under the tower and you shoot a tower and it's got backdoor protection, you're going to be able to tell now,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
You
it's
can
pretty
definitely-
awesome.
Definitely tell. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I would love to talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but I know we got tight schedules and we have more people coming on. But really appreciate you guys stopping by.
Oh yeah, thanks for having us.
Next up, we have the community guys.
Thanks
with
for having me,
Taylor
Kale.
and Austin.
Yeah, it was nice being
and
on. Thanks
Mooney,
for having me,
Mooney
Kale.
Doc. Chris Sierra is coming on. We'll be right back.
All right.
All right, we are back with some community folks. We have Taylor
What's up?
and Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how you guys doing?
Great.
Good trip over?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This
I'm like,
seeing all the
I'm
stuff
just
here is like,
jazzed.
pretty mind blowing. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're kind of geeking out. So.
That's
I was
good.
to say we showed them some of the lore stuff, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is sick!" And I was like,
It's like
yeah, we keep talking about how we
literally
go
all
back
we
to the
discuss
lore
with,
room.
like friends and stuff is just like crazy like lore and stuff like that.
So I'm gonna mention. I'm gonna let Chris take it away because
Yeah.
this is the band guy. But I do have to mention something because a lot of people don't realize this with Epic. So we actually work with a lot of people in the music industry through Engine, and
Yeah.
so
"Yeah, we
you know,
talked
yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
we
Yeah,
were talking
people
about
that,
that.
I won't put anybody. I won't put anybody on blast. But there's a couple DJs that like to use Engine as a part of their shows. Some folks I'm sure many of those people are familiar with at home. But I think we're always looking at and very interested in finding out either people that play our games or that use the Engine and we didn't know, right? And so Chris goes, "Hey, I know these guys. I know these guys. They play Paragon." And so he was like, "Hey, can we get them out?" And I was like, "Sure, man. Make it a show. I think it'd be awesome." So, Chris, you kind of walk through.
Yeah.
what
So,
happened.
if you guys aren't aware, we've been blasting it on social channels. I know I have. Super excited. I used to play rock music in a band, which is, if you guys did not know, that's where Atlas came from, and Chris Atlas. So many people thought that was my last name, which I thought was hilarious. I was
honestly, sick last name.
I was like, oh, sweet. But yeah, so this is Taylor from Beartooth and Austin from Ghost Key. And I mentioned this on the community corner the other day, but it was funny because, Austin, you remember this. So when V42 launched, the servers went down. And I was like, okay, this isn't good. So I was the one manning Twitter. And I'm hanging out. And this dude is like helping out on Twitter, being like, hey, guys, you guys need to just chill, relax. It'll be fine. Epic's got it. Like, they already said they were sorry. Like, it's cool. Let's just relax. And so,
I just felt bad.
yeah. And Austin's on here, the poor guy.
Yeah.
He's like, guys, just relax. We want to play too.
Yeah,
And
like-
I was like, he's verified. I was like, who is this dude? He looks like, I saw tattoos. I was like, okay. This is my kind of guy.
Tattoos gave it away.
So I clicked on his profile and it said vocalist of Ghost Key, and I was like, this is insane, because my band was going to tour, and I think you said you remember at one point.
Yeah,
we
there was
talked
like
about that.
a short conversation about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And so pretty rad. Was able to talk to him. Taylor helps manage Ghost Key. And so we just had this back and forth, and then Taylor hit me up, and we were like, yeah, dude, let's do some stream stuff. This will be great. So, yeah, I mean, for you guys, like, if you guys want to, like, I would love to hear, and I'm sure some of these folks would. I know they're fans of you guys. Like, your backstory of the band real quick of, like, where you guys started, like, how you guys got invested in Paragon, like, gaming in general.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, our history of our band is pretty storied, I'd say. But we started in like 2012. Our singer Caleb used to be in a band, Attack. We used to
Loved Attack back in the day.
like a couple of us that were in the band used to work for them, and I mean, we started our band with no real like intentions of being where we are now, but
Which is great.
you know,
great.
people just really like our music, which
Dig
is
it, yeah.
I'm down because it means I get to do what I love for a living.
Yeah,
but
and you guys just headlined Warped Tour, right? This year?
yeah, we were on we were on
nuts.
main
That's
stage.
insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was like a nice little childhood dream come true.
Yeah. It's awesome.
But yeah, in terms of Paragon, like I saw like a trailer. I'm just looking at V43. It looks
Yeah,
insane.
they're like seeing
It
V43.
keeps distracting me. It's like yeah. But yeah, I saw the first trailer you guys ever put out with like Steel and Twin Blast
Yeah.
and Clarion stuff, and I was just like, what is this? You know what I mean? Because my friend Brandon, who he used to be the drummer in our band, he plays like League of Legends, so he kind of introduced me to MOBAs. And then when I saw that, I suck at League, by the way, really bad at the game.
Same.
But
Not good at it.
when I saw the trailer for Paragon, I was just like, this is insane. Like, this looks so much more fast paced and like
I still get
action-based and
goosebumps from
stuff.
that initial trailer.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the part at the end where Steel jumps in the air, I was like, that sold me on it, and I was just like, all right. So I remember we were on tour. I saw the trailer and I like looked up like the site for it and everything, and I was like, there's a beta happening. Like as soon as we get home, I gotta sign up for it now. Like, and as like we got home from tour, and like a few days later, like early access beta started, and I was like, take my money, do whatever. Like,
Nice.
I just want to try this game, and like, literally from day one, I was just like, I was hooked.
That's
like,
awesome.
That's awesome.
the first time I got to drop a meteor on somebody with Gideon, I was like, all right, cool, I'm in.
Dude.
That was back when the meteor like broke up and rained
Yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
But like, Dude, it was so sick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
same.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Everyone-
always forget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone was like, "Why did you guys do that? The big meteor is so much better." And so,
That action shot, that screenshot,
was
that's like my
actually-
wallpaper on my computer.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
yeah, it was actually like a performance thing for a
Yep.
little while.
Oh,
So we
yeah, I
broke it
went
down into
down
little
with, like-
pieces,
yeah.
and then the team was like, "I think we can fix this," and so they brought
Yeah,
it
yeah.
back, and we got the big smash one. A little fun fact on he's actually getting another meteor.
Oh, really?
Little fun fact.
Didn't know.
I'm into that.
Yeah,
You heard it here
It's
first.
yeah, heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. So, Austin, what about you, dude? Backstory on Ghost Key and like for
Yeah.
you getting involved with Paragon. Like, what's up?
It's funny because like our stories are similar in that it was kind of an accident. Like I know we were talking earlier. We started in a garage as like two different bands that needed members. Like each band needed what the other band had as far as I played drums and our current guitar player Chris played guitar. And then the other band that needed those members had a bassist and a vocalist. There was like a miscommunication somewhere, and we all show up, and our bassist brings our current drummer Andrew, who is infinitely better than I am at drums, so I lost that battle. And our friend Jeff is like
Dropping the beats,
suggesting, "Oh, let's do two vocalists," and I was like, "In a hardcore band, I don't think so." But we like started writing music and stuff, and then like 2 weeks later, he was like, "I'm moving. You're the vocalist now." And I was like, "No, that's not what we're gonna do." And he
Put you in the hot
convinced me, and like so I decided to try it. I'd never done that before. And then like fast forward like a couple years, we'd written some songs. It was about a year in, and I like made the joke I was gonna book a tour, and everyone was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever."
Sure.
And then I'm like, okay, by the way, like dates and like people are expecting us to show up. We have to go. And they were like, oh, okay, like it's for real. And so we like did our first tour and it just like snowballed. Fast forward a couple years, I met him playing hide and seek in Columbus, Ohio.
That's awesome.
And we
That's
just
so
like
good.
became friends. And he was like, yeah, I like your band. And then like once he got into Beartooth, he was like, I can help now. Like
Yeah.
let me do what I can. And like kind of took us on. Paragon. Totally his fault.
Oh,
Taylor.
dude, as soon as I
Gosh,
played
Taylor.
it.
Were you like,
Yeah,
hey,
it was
gotta
all
play,
his
gotta
fault.
Yeah,
play.
well, immediately, because that was back when you guys had the friend codes and stuff.
Yep.
And, like,
I still have those,
We were
by the
talking-
way.
you
If
told me
anybody
it's like
needs a friend
wildfire.
code.
yeah, because we were
amongst a
talking about
bunch
the
of
other day,
bands.
like, we have a bunch of friends that play, that, like, are huge into video games and stuff, especially ones that are competitive.
Right.
So, like, the fact that it does crossplay, like PC, PS4, was, like, huge for us because,
Yep.
like,
Our
that
friends are so
a
split
majority
up.
of our friends play PC or PS4.
right.
And it's, like, the one game we can all, like, enjoy
That's
together.
awesome.
You
Yeah.
know?
That's-
So...
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Unifying.
like
That's cool.
that's like been the number one. I'm just keep getting distracted, but like that's been like the number one thing for us. Is just like it's a game that we can all play together. So like we all get on Discord. Like every night we have a group chat that's like, all right, who's getting on? Like let's
Yeah.
get a team going. Let's like, and like we're getting to the point now where we have enough people where we can do like 5v5 and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's just it's such a I don't
And
know,
it's
it's a way for us to
snowballed
like
so fast.
Well,
Yeah,
well, that's
'cause,
what I was
like-
gonna ask.
'cause it-
Like you and I talked, and like guys, like especially coming from a rock band background, it's like to play shows and to also play Paragon on the road. Number one, like the Wi-Fi or like the
Oh,
hotspot
yeah.
spot
Dude, it
areas
can
and
be
trying to do it
rough.
is insane. Like that doesn't happen.
It can be
And like
rough.
I called you one time and we were talking. And you like got to the show, unloaded your stuff.
Oh
and were
yeah,
like,
we
I'm
did
on my
play a
laptop
game.
playing,
That was,
and I'm like,
yeah.
how do you have time,
Oh, yeah.
bandwidth, and like, dude, you're making. It's like,
I was
talk
on
about
my
that.
phone
Like, how do you
Wi-Fi.
guys? Yeah, how do you guys play on tour? Like that to me is mind blowing.
I
That's
bought-
so cool.
I specifically bought one of those, which is set up in our hotel room right now. But I
Yes.
specifically bought one of those Vanguard
PS4.
cases for my PlayStation
Yeah.
solely so I could play Paragon on the road.
Yeah, we got there with dinner. They're like,
Yeah.
we're going to the room.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Anyways,
went
continue,
back
yeah.
to the hotel.
we played
and
like
we
two
played
games last
and
night.
won.
One, it was great. But
Yeah, how do you
Not-
guys do it on tour? Like that's just that.
I just like get on the Wi-Fi and I check if it's fast enough, and if it is, I'll just go all in.
Yeah.
Like
that's so cool.
It's funny
That's
too
so cool.
because like as far as my band goes, there are three of us that like play regularly. Me, Steven, and Chris. Steven and Taylor were the two people that like really got me into Paragon because he was in, like he said, like day one. Steven was in like a week, and then they were like, dude, come on, like you got to try it. You have a PC, like let's go. And now when we go on the road, Steven doesn't have his fancy PS4 thing like Taylor does. So we get to the venues and like immediately, I mean like as soon as we load in, Steven's just like, have you checked the Wi-Fi? Can I get a game in? And I'm like,
so good.
I'm like,
That
dude,
is so good.
I haven't even gotten to play yet. Like, chill out. And he's
Yeah.
always like, dude, I just got to get like one game in. Like, just let me
That's
play.
so-
And,
He's
like-
like, did you bring your controller? I'll try it on the keyboard if I have to.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Yeah,
it-
and like
That's so good.
So,
So-
myself and our tour manager like alternate. I'll be playing Paragon, and he'll come in, and him and I are like kind of rivals in real life. But he'll just be like, "Hey, when you're done playing that game, can we play like NHL or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna be a while though." So
Yeah, like,
go do something else.
2018 maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But like, dude, phone
Maybe later
Wi-Fi
tonight.
if I got to.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I've tethered off my phone.
I got
dedication.
unlimited data.
The
so,
game
like,
Dedication.
the game
Love
has
it.
significantly increased my phone bills. So
Well, like, what band? Because you guys said, like, we've talked about this. Like, what other bands like are in your guys' like friend group that also play?
Knocked Loose, Silent Planet,
Nick
Glasslands.
started playing
Vanna.
Oh, Vanna's it? I didn't know that.
Steve
Okay, that's
from
cool.
the Color Morale just
Seems
downloaded
like we
the
have
game
to
to
do
get
a
in.
battle of the bands or something.
No, I talked about that,
Yeah.
doing like a 5v5. Yeah. Oh
Well,
my gosh.
and then like we
Yeah.
said, dude, it just snowballed. It was like, it's just like we keep telling people, and like it's just such an easy game for everyone to get in all at once and like play, and so like even just from a casual standpoint, like we can all just hang out because everybody lives in every section of the country, so like we don't get to see each other all the time, so it's just so easy to jump in a big game like Paragon and like be able to talk with each other and like catch up, and then also just like
Play video
wreck.
games.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
not that I wreck. That's not me, but I do attend. I'm there.
Yeah, I exist in the moment.
Yeah.
So both of you guys, it sounds like both of you guys have been playing for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's Legacy. What do you guys think about the transition to Monolith now, where we're at right now?
I was on tour for the original like Monolith drop, and I know Brandon and Steven were at home and they started playing it, and they at first had a hard time adjusting, like just like because it was a lot at once,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
different
yeah, for
maps
sure.
and everything.
Yep.
But like
Totally
once I
different
got home, I had put in like a few AI games, and I think I got like the idea behind it. But this was back in like the old card system and stuff. But we were just like, it took us a second, but I like the setup of the map better. I like the river buffs. I like the different placement for like the raptors and Orb Prime and like the green buffs in the jungle and stuff. Really, the only thing I miss from Legacy is like the jungle tunnels, like where it was like super narrow. But like I don't know, like I
miss
really
orb
like
dunking.
it was,
dunking?
yeah.
I do miss orb
A lot
I
dunking.
of people
understand
miss
why
orb
it was
dunking.
like clunky, but like it was also sick when you could get it.
Yeah,
an
no,
awesome
I-
play.
The
Look,
Muriel- the
orb
Muriel
dunking
ult.
is
Dude, the
we've
Murdoch
said this
one.
before. The team really liked the mechanic.
Yeah.
And I mean, they loved it. It didn't make for great gameplay for us.
Yeah, because you could
Oh, I
just
mean,
stall the game.
Yeah, I was gonna
it's
say,
like
I
one,
can't-
it's one
what
massive
happened.
team
Yeah.
fight, rotate, one massive team fight,
Yeah.
and like objectives and like everything else were just completely
Like-
lost, and it was just focused on dunking this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it drew out, yeah. It
Well,
was-
because and that's why it was cool, because it was like, wow, this is a really different mechanic for a MOBA. Because like I'm on the subreddit and everything, and I see people and they get upset about
so,
it.
yeah, you guys are super involved on the Reddit.
Yeah, and like I totally get why people get bummed, but there were also games where I look up and I realize that after somebody has either dunked orb and pulled a tower, or whatever,
Or the inhib
res
all
the tower,
respawn.
yeah,
Yeah.
res the inhib. Like I look up and I'm like, oh god, we've been playing for an hour and 20 minutes. Like.
Yeah.
Yep, a couple hour and a
Oh, I
half games
remember
in the
my-
tank meta.
my
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So like, when it disappeared, I was like, okay, I get it. And then like the same with Monolith. At first, I was like, oh, this is totally different. Like, I don't totally understand it. We're all just so stoked on this. I
And
love
like
it.
especially like my then girlfriend, now wife, is
Congrats,
very.
he just got
oh,
married,
thank
by
you.
the way.
Huh?
Taylor just got married.
Yeah.
My now wife is very excited about the shorter game times. Like she'll come downstairs and like
Yeah.
Honey!
one of our things is like Friday, like everyone just comes in like over and hangs out, and we're playing Paragon like all in one room in my house together, and she'll just come down and like sit and like talk and make fun of us, just because we're like super nerds about it. But she like, I don't know, it's like created just like a nice way for us all to like bond and hang out. You know?
That's awesome.
But yeah, super. I'm just so wrapped into like the visual update because we just saw it for the first time and it's so sick.
Yeah, I got to like walk around with Iggy, And I was just like, oh my god,
he
oh
wasn't
my
even.
god.
He forgot
yeah.
like an auto.
Yeah, I
He was just
wasn't.
like, oh my gosh, the
We're
jungle.
both like looking at all the like different parts of the map and the towers and stuff. I was just like,
you guys got to get ready to play.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah,
got that group?
yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna cut it a little short because I know you guys got a group of folks waiting for you guys to play.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you guys coming on.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm gonna
thanks
talk
for
to you
having
guys
us.
some more today.
Yeah.
There's plenty that Chris is going to show you guys that's either not released or that you guys are
Oh,
first
I'm
time.
so
Yeah.
Sorry, chat.
Sorry.
Yeah, and one thing I was gonna say too, if you guys haven't like checked out these guys' bands or like gotten any merch, like these guys, this is their full time job, and like I remember what it was like being on the road and trying to make money as a band, and it's tough. So like if you guys do
Yes.
like get a chance to support these dudes,
Yeah.
check out a music
Yeah.
video, like views help, likes help, like Facebook likes, Twitter.
We just
help.
had a record come out in February.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah, it was
Thank you
awesome.
for having
yeah,
us.
thanks for having
We're
us.
going to end the
Yeah.
show with me and Mooney answering some questions while these guys get set up, and we will be right back. All right, we are back.
What's up, guys?
Looking at some of the questions that are coming in the chat while we wait for the crew to set up and get the word from Chris that I think it might be Taylor that is streaming.
I believe so.
Let me look. I have to make sure I pull this up. It is EYOHBE. Hey, your boy.
Hey, your boy. Hey, your B.
So where's the Fang Mao nerf? I don't know, Magni. Perhaps the team did not feel like Fang should be nerfed or buffed. Is there any chance that OP dunking could be in a different game mode in the future? Nope. I don't think that's currently playing Tiny Tom. Awesome work from the art team. Thanks, Skywall. Appreciate it. Play Paragon. Will we see heroes on the victory screen? Right now, the victory screen just shows the just the core blowing up.
Yeah.
Eventually, what we want to do is get back to having the in-game screen have the heroes. So this is like a V1 of that, essentially. So we took it away. We needed to configure it for a new Monolith. And we said it was going to come back. That's the plan, and we'll include more of the things that you guys would expect. So like banners, showing those, emotes, things like that.
Didn't fall off, just kind of something we're planning to get in.
Yep. 2,000 viewers for Monday early afternoon is good. This is about what our dev streams are.
Pretty
It's
standard.
been that way for a long time. About 2,500 viewers. So thank you guys for stopping by. Is this the final map art for Monolith? I won't call anything final. I think that the team is going to continue to kind of iterate. When Jordan was on, I tried to. Listen, guys, I tried. You guys ask me so often about getting weather effects on the map. I tried to sneak that question in there, and Jordan did say, now that we're getting closer to finalizing the map, they're starting to play with things like that.
I didn't
right
I didn't hear a hard.
He didn't
no.
give me a hard
So
no.
I didn't
He's
hear
never
a hard
said no.
Yeah. He's been like, this is something we're all interested in. We're interested in.
So I tried, but no, for sure we're going to continue to update the map. Hey Arctic, how does the map look on low settings? I'm wondering if you can play this on your crap top while on the holidays. Maldo Nacho, I actually don't know. I could not tell you what it looks like on low settings. It is performing well at all settings so far, to my knowledge. That was a big one for us between the time that we delayed up until this point in time, was making sure that performance was in a good spot. I'm confident because we just can't test for all the different variations and configurations specifically on PC, that there will be some folks that probably will not be able to run as well as we would like, but I promise you that we will figure out whatever the issue is and try to resolve it.
What?
Any ETA on an Asia server? No ETA to provide, Locust. We're starting to get way ahead, so I gotta. Kale needs a haircut. You guys can't tell I got my mohawk.
No, dude, he's just
a
rocking. He's
frohawk.
rocking a new style, dude.
Yeah,
he's
this
rocking
is
that
new
new
style.
style.
You can't see it.
God Mooney likes like he's 14. I look like I'm 14. Thanks.
Got a frohawk,
Shout
guys.
out. Shout out to youthfulness.
I actually had this for the Paragon
was
exhibition event,
yeah.
but my hair was shorter, so it just looked like
It
a
was a little
haircut.
less. Yeah, it was just like a
Just
little
looked
low
like,
key.
he got a haircut.
No, dude, I like it.
It's a frohawk.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I'm trying to get my Odell Beckham on.
I'm just pretending like I get that reference. Is that a sports ball guy?
Sports ball guy. You don't know who Odell Beckham is?
Dude, I'm not. Don't act like I'm football.
You don't know
following any of
the
that.
catch? Like the catch that's like.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. So by reference, I know it, but like less like specifically knowing the player.
Come on, man.
Hey, man. At least
is
I
the
said
next
sports ball.
blog update going to be the new mode and or new map? What are we going to talk about next update? I'm talking about the V44 update. The next big update, probably be talking about jungle changes. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Jungle changes is pretty much all I know. I'll have to check some stuff out and then let you guys know. Any update of the bugs and replays like tab not working? So, fun fact, we are trying to ramp up more people on the replay team to work through a number of bugs in replay. It's just started to degrade over time, and we're definitely taking a look at how we can continue to improve it. For 41.5, we had a custom build that we were using for the Paragon exhibition event, which included pause feature, and it worked through a number of the HUD and UI issues that we had, and we're just trying to get that work caught back up for the new builds. Let me see if Chris is ready. Let me know if you see a question. No, not yet. Not yet. Are you guys going to raise tower damage? Nope. No plans to change damage on towers. Any word? Oh, it's going too fast. I always scroll down a little bit, and then I can catch up. We got the question on the bugs. When will the HUD update roll out? Oh, that's also coming.
Yes.
I don't know if it's 44, but we're trying to get
see initial stuff.
Yeah, we're trying to get updates to the HUD in ASAP.
Yep.
As soon as we get information on it and some general plans, we will post them and make sure to update the community. What I do know is that the team is already internally testing out some like V1 iterations of the new HUD stuff. I've played on one iteration. It's just really, really early right now. And all they've basically done in this iteration is they kind of place things.
It's like placing it out and like seeing how it looks.
Just to see how it looks and how it plays. Arctic, come be my support. I'm on a losing streak. Gotta get this guy. This guy's probably better support than me.
What's up, guys? I will help you continue.
Tell he's alive. Still waiting for an update on the loot crate rep issues. I don't know what exactly.
Yeah, so there was okay. Here I can touch on this. So there was a thread that I think popped up where some users were talking about how they had received some special grants with regards to loot crates and the rep stuff we had talked about.
Yep.
And we'd kind of done that thing where we acknowledged that we definitely made the cost a little bit too high on that early ramp and moved the cost down for the first 4 ranks of for the mastery. And we had a couple of specific users. I believe Everything Comes to Dust in a live rip who had reached out about having invested a lot in the system and who really understand, respect, and appreciate the fact that you guys have been around with us for so long. But with regards to the specific post, Everything came to Dust made about another user. They talked about getting special rewards, special granting. I have no knowledge about that actually occurring. I'd love to get more information if you find out like what that user's experience was specifically, and we can continue to look into these cases. But as of right now, that's where we've landed. Like, we made the rep adjustment. We're definitely going to look into the future up making iterations as need be. But yeah, if you have any specifics on that, please feel free to contact me again. But I dropped in that thread, didn't get any more information on who that user was.
So just to clarify, there was a claim that a player had
gotten some specific treatment
from someone else
versus what we had done as
we verified with player support that was
that was not something we were doing. Yeah, there's not.
And now we're waiting to find out who exactly is that player.
Yeah, if that is a thing
that exists.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So.
Is Echo Drive released in V43? I don't know. I don't think there's any new car. Are there any new cars in V43? I didn't see that in the notes. That would have been something that we probably plastered on the front of it. ETL and ranked. No ETA to provide. I do know, however, that we're getting very close to introducing the new matchmaking system. I want to say they're testing it on some of the dev builds right now.
Nice.
So I've always prefaced that was the first thing that's coming before ranked, and we're trying to power through and see how the new rank system works out. So that's our rank system. The new matchmaking system works out.
I've been silencing the yawns. Everybody's calling out me. I'm not yawning, but like I'm like trying to like keep them kind of yawn with my mouth closed, because I think it's like rude to yawn with your mouth like you yawn all the way open. That's like the obnoxious yawns. I feel like I've been keeping it under control. I feel like I've also been looking less suspicious lately.
I don't know about that.
I think that's true.
It looks like he's live. All right. So Austin is streaming the new map. Hopefully we got some questions answered for you guys. Go over to Austin's stream. Support some of our community members in Paragon. Yeah, Austin is streaming right now. I'm looking at it. He's playing with Iggy. You guys can see the new map in all its glory live over on Twitch right now from another community member. I'm posting it right now. Go show your support for those guys, and we'll see you guys next time.